Hello and welcome to Rajya TV. You're watching News Tonight with your host Rajat. Let's have a look at the top headlines of the day so far. India playing a key role in ensuring world peace and progress, says Prime Minister Modi at ASEAN-India Summit. Underscores need to increase cooperation in maritime trade for prosperity of India-Pacific region. Cyclone storm Gaja moving towards in coastal area in Tamil Nadu. Landfall expected tonight. Winds travelling at 100 km per hour lash Nagapattinam district. Government machinery put on high alert in vulnerable areas. Exports rise 17.86% to $26.98 billion in October. Healthy growth seen in petroleum, engineering, chemicals, pharma, gems and jewelry sectors. Fitch Ratings agency projects strong growth outlook for the economy, estimates real GDP growth in current financial year ending March 2019 at 7.8%, up from 6.7% in 2017 and 18. Cooperative societies must function as a bridge between government and farmers, says Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu at Lakshman Rao in Amdan Memorial Lecture, emphasizes need to make rural economy and farming profitable. And Brexit shock for UK Prime Minister Theresa May. At least 4 ministers, including Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab, Work and Pension Secretary Esther McQueen resigned in protest against withdrawal deal. Pound drops. A top story. Prime Minister Modi arrived in New Delhi on Thursday after a two-day visit to Singapore, during which he attended the ASEAN and East Asia summits. He also held a number of bilateral meetings with several world leaders, including US Vice President Mike Pence.
India has always been committed to a peaceful and prosperous Indo-Pacific region, Prime Minister Narendra Modi said on Thursday. Addressing the plenary session of the 13th East Asia Summit in Singapore, Prime Minister Modi called for enhancing multilateral cooperation, economic and cultural ties among member nations. Leaders of the grouping discussed global and regional issues, including maritime cooperation at the summit. Ahead of the plenary session, leaders of 18 Asia-Pacific region countries, which include 10 ASEAN countries and India, US, Russia, Australia, South Korea, China, Japan and New Zealand, held informal talks during the lunch retreat.
We had a good discussion at the lunch retreat, a format which Singapore has reintroduced this year. It's a good way for leaders to engage in frank and candid discussion on ways to deepen strategic trust among the 18 member countries. We also exchanged views on future directions for the East Asia Summit in response to the complex challenges we face today, so as to maintain regional peace, stability and prosperity. To facilitate discussion, Singapore has proposed statements on concrete issues such as cybersecurity and smart cities, so that we can explore ways to deepen and broaden cooperation among the participating countries.
Earlier in the day, the PM took part in the ASEAN-India Breakfast Summit. The Prime Minister reaffirmed cooperation in the maritime domain and centrality of trade and investment towards the prosperity of Indo-Pacific regions. During the day, he also felicitated winners of the first India-Singapore Hackathon, a platform for the youth of the two countries to showcase their innovations. The Prime Minister, who arrived in Singapore on Wednesday, also held extensive talks with US Vice President Mike Pence on a wide range of bilateral and global issues of mutual interests. Modi on Wednesday held bilateral meetings with the Prime Ministers of Singapore, Australia and Thailand. He also delivered the keynote address at the prestigious FinTech Festival. This was Prime Minister Modi's 5th East Asia Summit. India has been taking part in the East Asia Summit since its inception in 2005. The EAS has 10 ASEAN nations. It was formed to further the objectives of regional peace, security and prosperity. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
The severe cyclone storm Rajya in the Bay of Bengal is moving towards Tamil Nadu coast. It's expected to make a landfall around Pamban, Kudalur and Nagapattinam tonight. The cyclone is moving at a speed of 21 kilometers per hour and is set to weaken at the time of its landfall. Rainfall at most places in the state and Puducherry is expected, with the possibility of isolated heavy rainfall. The state administration has asked people not to go near the seashores. Health centres in the district have also been further strengthened to meet emerging challenges. The Indian Navy has stationed 2 of its warships on the standby to help the authorities in rescue missions. 2,571 people have so far been evacuated from low-lying areas to special camps.
It is expected that Gaja cyclone will have a landfall in the late night of today. As per the information that we are getting, it might be south of Kudalur, that is in Nagapattinam district. We have asked the people who are there in vulnerable areas, especially in huts and tin sheets and weak tiled houses, we have asked them to shift to the cyclone shelters today evening.
Now off to the business news. India's exports saw a considerable rise in October. Exports rose by 17.8% to 26.98 billion in October as engineering goods, pharmaceutical and chemical shipments picked up pace. In September, exports had declined for the first time this year by 22.1.5%. Imports during October also rose by 17.62% to $44.11 billion. This has led to widening of trade deficit to $17.13 billion. Meanwhile, Fitch has retained India's sovereign rating at BBB, the lowest investment grade, with a stable outlook. Stating that a strong growth outlook continues to stand out among peers, Fitch put out a real GDP growth in the current financial year at 7.8%, up from 6.7% in 2017-18. The Delhi High Court on Thursday asked the centre to maintain status quo in a case involving land leased to publishers of National Herald newspapers. The centre gave an oral assurance to High Court that it will maintain status quo till November 22nd, which is the next date of hearing. Last month, the Urban Development Ministry had ended 56-year-old lease of National Herald office, seeking that premises be vacated by November 15th. Publishers of National Herald had challenged the order in the High Court.
2 घंटे की बहस सुनने के बाद जज साहब ने 22 नवंबर के लिए अगली तारीख मुकर्रर की है और जो केंद्र सरकार के तरफ से श्री तुषार मेहता सॉलिसिटर जनरल पेश हुए थे, उन्होंने कहा है कि हमारी दलीलें सुनने के बाद उन्हें कुछ समय चाहिए होगा अपना जवाब देने के लिए और उन्होंने कोर्ट को आश्वासन दिया है कि 22 तारीख तक केंद्र सरकार इस विषय पे कोई कदम नहीं उठाएगी, पोजेशन या फिर कोई और लीगल प्रोसीडिंग्स हमारे खिलाफ नहीं शुरू करेगी.
The Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu delivered the Lakshman Rao Inamdar Memorial Lecture in Mumbai University on Thursday. In his address, the Vice President called for a revamp of laws governing cooperative sectors so that it becomes a viable and vibrant enterprise in the present scenario. He emphasized on the need to address challenges such as the politicization and bureaucratic control of cooperatives. He said the lack of awareness, vagaries of monsoon, lack of access to market and storage facilities is forcing people to migrate from rural areas to urban areas. To tackle these challenges, Naidu called on the cooperative sector to play a key role in strengthening rural economy and also help farmers to raise their incomes.
The time has come to bring the requisite changes in the relevant laws governing cooperative sector in the context of changing techno-economic and business scenario to make the cooperatives viable and vibrant enterprises. At the same time, we have to focus enough attention on agriculture and rural development. Even today, 56% of the people are depending on agriculture. And the best method in agriculture, according to me, is the cooperative strengthening of the cooperative movement. This has to be understood by all, including the planners.
The Vice President also presented Jamnalal Bajaj Awards in Mumbai on Thursday. Addressing the gathering, Vice President M. Venkaiah Naidu said, every citizen must become an agent for change and contribute towards building a more empathetic and caring society. He said it's important for every individual to discharge his or her responsibility towards society and the country at large. The Vice President also called for a revamp of schools curriculum and make it mandatory for children to take part in social service activities so as to inculcate values among children. The awards are given to 4 eminent citizens for making outstanding contribution in the field of environment, disaster mitigation, women and children welfare and promotion of peace and non-violence.
Concept of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, we must preserve it, we must enrich it, we must propagate it. We should not only profess it but also practice it. That is the way to take the country and to take the culture, to take the tradition forward. I am very happy that this foundation is doing that work. My compliments to them. And also what we should do is that we should take care of the women's empowerment. They are 50% of our population. We should focus enough on taking care of the woman. We should end all gender discrimination whatsoever.
Time for a very short break. More on the other side. Keep watching Rajya.
Hello and welcome to Security Scan. I am Vishal Dahiya, and this week we will take a look at the issue of replacing in SARS.
Soldiers' requirements are 2. One is, I must have a better weapon than my enemy. And the second is, when I need to kill the enemy, this weapon should not fail me.
If you go and replace every weapon that is there, that is about, your requirement is about 8 lakhs. The cost just shoots up to over 2 billion.
Indigenous production, indigenous R&D is the key to the future, and we have to invest in a lot.
Enter the majestic forecourt of Rashtrapati Bhavan and you'll come across the Jaipur column. A gift to the Viceroy from Savai Madho Singh, the Maharaja of Jaipur, to commemorate the creation of the new capital. The 145-meter high column is crowned with 6 pointed crystal stars on a bronze lotus, and inside the stone shaft runs a steel tube which weighs a little more than 5 tons. The base of the column has text conceived by Lord Irwin and Sir Edwin Lutyens inscribed on it.
First up, the topic of Vision Document for a Digital Northeast by the year 2022.
See, the Vision Document largely integrate all the components of Digital India program of the Government of India, with special focus on certain aspects keeping into the diversity of Northeast and the constraint which exists in Northeast.
The centre made an announcement that Northeast needs immediately 3 C's. C means ABC, C's. Communication, connectivity and commerce. And for all these 3 C's, the digitalization in today's world is very important.
Now the topic of adventure tourism.
It is easier to experience adventure tourism in India. It is cheaper and economical to have these type of activities, and the reassurance, the fact that you have a variety of experiences that you get in a limited, a 2-week holiday or a 3-week holiday.
Of late, a couple of insurance companies have moved forward, and now these insurance are available.
Time for some election news in Battleground 2018. Starting with Mizoram. The Election Commission has appointed Ashish Kundra as new Chief Electoral Officer of the state. A 1996 batch IAS officer, Ashish Kundra replaces SP Shashank with immediate effect. The decision to replace Shashank was taken after days of statewide protests by civil society groups against him. The protests were over transfer of state's Principal Secretary Lalnan Muiva Chaunga on 2nd November after Shashank claimed he had interfered in the electoral process. Civil society groups also protested against Shashank's decision to allow the voting by Bru tribal lodged in Tripura camps and not in their respective constituencies in Mizoram. On 5th of November, Chief Minister Lalthan Hawla wrote to Prime Minister Modi demanding Shashank's removal. Protests outside Shashank's office in Aizawl were called off 2 days later after Shashank was summoned to Delhi last week. Off to Telangana, the Telangana police is adopting a multi-pronged strategy to check any Maoist threat in district bordering Chhattisgarh and Maharashtra. The strategy is aimed to thwart any desperate attack by outlawed CPI Maoists ahead of assembly polls in the state on December 7th. Police officials claim that Maoists may send their action teams in some areas to create trouble and sensation as they've been almost decimated in Telangana. Security has already been beefed up in the state for electioneering. Combing operations have been stepped up and roads have been cleared. Counteraction teams are also on the move. Central Armed Police Forces, State Forces, the Greyhound, the elite anti-Naxal force have been deployed to ensure free and fair elections. Security cover has also been provided to VIPs and politicians who are campaigning. 13 of 119 assembly segments have been identified as sensitive to left-wing extremism, where polling will be held on the 7 a.m. and 4 p.m. Continuing with Telangana, Union Home Minister Rajnath Singh says country will be free from Naxalism in next 3 to 5 years. Addressing people rally in Raipur on Thursday, he said Naxalism is going through its last phase. This problem has been reduced from 90 districts to only 10 to 11. Home Minister said earlier more security personnel used to get killed in the fight between Maoists, but now casualties on the rebel side are more, with forces having an upper hand. Singh appealed to Maoists that they should leave the path of violence and surrender. Benefits of rehabilitation policy will be given to surrendered Maoists.
पहले 90 जिलों में था, सिमट कर 9 जिलों में रह गए। ज्यादा समय नहीं लगेगा कि 3 से 5 साल के अंदर नक्सलवाद भी हिंदुस्तान की धरती से समाप्त होकर गए। और मैं अपील करना चाहता हूं, आज भी ऐसे सारे लोग हथियार छोड़कर समर्पण करें, उनके पुनर्वास की व्यवस्था सरकार करेगी। हम लोग किसी की जिंदगी नहीं लेना चाहते।
Rajnath Singh also addressed several rallies ahead of second phase of polls in Chhattisgarh on November 20th. Addressing rallies in Saraipalli and Sarangarh, Singh said the Congress and other opposition parties are grappling with the credibility crisis in poll-bound state, with people losing faith in them. He also addressed rallies in Pratappur and Kota constituencies.
यही छत्तीसगढ़, मुझे याद है 15 साल, 100 में 36 घर थे, यहां पर बिजली पहुंची। पूरा गांव की बात छोड़ दीजिए, गांव के गांव साफ। डॉक्टर रमन सिंह को बधाई देना चाहता हूं बहनों भाइयों कि आज 98% घरों में बिजली पहुंचाने का काम यदि किसी मुख्यमंत्री ने किया है तो डॉक्टर रमन सिंह ने किया है।
Now, Uttar Pradesh Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath addressed several rallies in Chhattisgarh on Thursday. In an address, he said that after BJP came to power in 2003, the Raman Singh government created a milestone development and worked for the welfare of farmers, youth and all sections of society. He was campaigning for BJP candidate from Takatpur, Harshita Pandey, ahead of the second phase of polls in the state on November 20th. The Congress has fielded Rashmi Singh from the seat.
मोदी जी कहते हैं, डॉक्टर रमन सिंह भी कहते हैं, हम 100 रुपया भेजेंगे, ये 100 रुपया गरीब के खाते में जाएगा। ये 100 रुपया गरीब के खाते से कोई नहीं उठा सकता। ये 100 रुपया गरीब के खाते में जाएगा। गरीब के हक में कोई डकैती डालने का कार्य करेगा, उसकी जगह जेल होगी।
BJP Chief Amit Shah reached out to tribals in poll-bound Madhya Pradesh on Thursday. He informed them about several welfare measures being taken by the party-led government in the centre and the state. Speaking at rally in Barwani, which comprises 4 tribal-dominated assembly seats, he criticised Rahul Gandhi, saying Congress chief was suffering from Modi-phobia. He claimed Congress had done no good for the tribals with the BJP sanction Indore-Manmad rail route for them. Amit Shah also addressed rallies in Shahjahanpur, Barwani and Ujjain. The state will go to polls on November 28th.
हमारे यहाँ तो भारतीय जनता पार्टी का नेता तय है। हम श्री शिवराज सिंह चौहान के नेतृत्व में चुनाव लड़ने वाले। ये भी तय है कि शिवराज सिंह आज से 6 साल तक प्रधानमंत्री नरेंद्र मोदी के नेतृत्व में मध्य प्रदेश का विकास करने वाले। मेरा जरा कांग्रेस के सभी लोगों से पूछना है, भैया ये बताओ कि आपका नेता कौन है? किसके नेतृत्व में चुनाव लड़ने वाले हो? अरे यार मैं राष्ट्रीय नहीं पूछ रहा, मध्य प्रदेश का पूछ रहा हूँ।
Now off to international news. At least 35 security personnel were killed in clashes with Taliban in Afghanistan's western province of Farah. 3 security checkposts fell to Taliban in Shiwan, Garani and Aab Khorme area of Balabluk district in Farah province yesterday night. The security forces have confirmed that they suffered losses in clashes with Taliban. Farah province has been among the areas most vulnerable to Taliban's simmering insurgency. At least 4 ministers from Prime Minister Theresa May's cabinet resigned on Thursday following differences over the Brexit deal. Brexit Secretary Dominic Raab, Indian Region Minister Shailesh Wara and 2 others ministers resigned citing inability to support British government's Brexit deal. Brexit Secretary Raab said proposed arrangement to avoid a post-Brexit border with Northern Ireland poses a threat to the integrity of the United Kingdom. Shailesh Wara, a minister in Northern Ireland office since January, resigned, saying UK is forced to obey rules made by countries which do not have the best interests of Britain at heart. The resignation are being seen as a sign of bigger troubles ahead for May, who defended the deal before hostile MPs on Wednesday. Meanwhile, Member of Parliament and Brexit supporter Jacob Rees-Mogg submitted a letter of no confidence in May's leadership of Conservative Party. The turmoil in government also led to a sharp plunge in pound, which dropped more than 1% against both the dollar and the euro. At least one Sri Lankan MP was injured and rival politicians exchanged blows and threw objects during Parliament session on Thursday. MPs loyal to President Maithripala Sirisena surrounded the Speaker in the chair after Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa demanded fresh elections to resolve the raging political turmoil. Rajapaksa lost a crucial floor test on Wednesday after Parliament passed a no-confidence motion against him. Rajapaksa was appointed Prime Minister by Sirisena in controversial decision last month. The no-confidence vote against Rajapaksa has left the island nation in power vacuum, as it's not yet clear whether Rajapaksa will resign or ousted PM Ranil Wickremesinghe, who has support of 122 lawmakers in 225-member parliament, will return to power. That's it on News Tonight. Thanks for watching Rajya Sabha TV.